This is my third or fourth video specifically talking about how we can support our kids when they get into anxious thought patterns. So, this has been so fun because I've gotten some awesome feedback. And part of the feedback has been about the specific way that I approach kids, where their thinking is happening, where they're working their emotions, and the very specific heart based conversations that I have in development that I'm all about. And I realized that was unique. That was a specific thing that I offer. And, it may seem obvious, but I just wasn't seeing it that way before. And I wanted to talk about where I'm coming from and why I think it's important. And I thought about that famous Einstein quote. And it's something like, we can't solve our problems from the same thinking that created them, right? And that's what I do find is fun. And kid anxiety is not fun. Let's be clear. Ugh, it's tough stuff. But even in the challenge, one of the things I find is that in helping a kid work through it and ourselves work through our own anxious loops, in doing that, we create an entirely other perspective, skills, places of strength to draw from, which is so very valuable no matter what age we are. And I find that with kids, we're able to see their anxious loops a little more clearly than we're able to see our own. And we so quickly can put into perspective what the kid might be worrying about. Like they're worried about something very specific at school, whether it's a friendship or a nervous thing that they're concerned about. And we see the bigger picture. Maybe it's something we've dealt with years before and we saw how we got through it and everything was okay, or whatever it is. We might hold that perspective with them. So we might think, oh gosh, like how could I help them transition so that this particular thing that's capturing their fear, their nervous attention, how could I help them shift that? Right? And again, the opportunities are so vast and wide here because everything works with mirrors, right? So whatever we support someone else in relieving, we're also supporting ourselves. And it goes vice versa as well. Any work you do in working through your own anxious thought and emotion patterns, any work you do on that is going to help the people who you parent or teach or caregive. Okay, so it's beautiful mirrors that way. And that's one of the reasons I love this work, because it's vast, it's deep, and it's highly practical. When you have a kid you're working with who is in the throes of anxiety, you want support now. You're looking for tools now. You want to support them out of that suffering ASAP. And it helps us even expand the different things we might be open to trying or thinking or developing. It opens us up because potentially the things we've tried haven't worked well enough yet, haven't worked to our satisfaction. So sometimes that struggle point will help us be open to a new way of thinking or being. And this work is very much about how we're being. We're with the child. And I find that creates the environment for the shift that we're so hoping they'll be able to make. All right, so one of the things I really want to talk about is how I talk about the heart so much when I do this work. And that is specific to my background and also an innate ability I have. And I realized in the work that I've done with children over the years, I have a very specific way of being in the world. It's helped me to be an effective educator. And it also has helped kids to feel very calm around me or to naturally feel a connection. And that is that I exist largely from a heart space. It's always been very natural for me. And it took me many, many years to understand that this was a little bit different than what everyone else may experience. And you might really resonate with this. What I'm talking about is true for me. You might say, oh, I think that might be true for me too. I say that when I see someone, when I experience someone, I take them in at their essence, like their core true self. And I don't mean that to be strange. I mean, I know it is a little odd. It's rather rare, I've found, right? But what it means is that I just naturally have a very loving gaze. And when I see someone, when I experience someone, I see them for the amazingness that they are deep at their core. And I find kids feel very comfortable in this space. They can relax and bask in this space, because it's a very receptive space, I just take them in. I just take them in, and there's this place for them to just be. And I was talking in one of my previous videos about practicing that skill. And I find it's a very natural skill that I bring when I meet someone, no matter what their age is. But I find that with kids, they are often more receptive than adults. Adults, we can have a bit of a crusty, um, wary, not so trustworthy experience of opening ourselves to someone seeing us deeply. And so I'm more cautious about that gaze. I'm not going to insert that or invade anyone with that. But when, for instance, clients come to me and we're in a trusted space together, I get to use those skills and they're very powerful. And I find with kids, like when I'm working in a school, for instance, with 500 kids, I can't think of a kid that hasn't appreciated at some level the way that I see them. And especially when I'm working with elementary students, I find they're incredibly open to this way. I did a 3-year energy medicine certification at the Reese Thomas Institute of Energy Medicine, and I was specifically trained in our 7 energy centers or chakras in our body. And these are those life force wheels of energy that exist. That what I also learned is that as kids, we develop them one by one from first to 7th, and the heart's right in the middle, and the heart is before the mind. And the heart is kind of in that 4 to 7-year-old stage for kids. And so when they're smack dab in their heart, they're going to elementary school. And so since I work so much from the heart, we resonate at that level. And since anxiety is so much a mental and then emotional place, we would call it a 2nd and 6th chakra experience. Being in that heart space, I can help calm their mind and I can help their emotions to balance. So I'm thinking I'll make another video specifically about this chakra development that kids go through and why specifically it can be so helpful to work with them from their heart, from that chakra perspective or energy center perspective. How fun would that be, right? So anyway, I wanted to just give that little bit of I guess it's like an intro to where I come from in doing this work, a little bit of the reasons why I think the heart is such a valuable part of ourselves, an energy center to develop to support kids. I'm so excited that we have those 5 attributes of the heart that I've mentioned: presence, awe, curiosity, open to holding the emotions that arise, and trust. When we develop these 5 qualities that are heart-based, it is very supportive for kids. It's supportive for all of us, but specifically in our work with kids, we see great strides happening in them then being able to calm the anxious thought and emotion patterns that are very much a part of our current world. Our current world, from an adult perspective, is very mind-driven. And also, that's where the anxiety arises from. And so, as that Einstein quote goes, we can't solve the problem from the level of the mind. Let's go to a different place to work to create a solution. Let's work from our heart. All right, I'd love your feedback. What are you hearing in this? Where do questions come up? Where is this interesting? How does this fit with things you've experienced with kids and in your own life? I'd love to hear. Thanks so much for being here. I never introduced myself. I'm Darcy Sky. And I have worked for 17 years with my own practice as an educator, coach, and energy practitioner. And I just love working with kids. And I love finding the root of where they might be getting into some anxious, worried places and help them to work through that. And it's skills that benefit them their whole life. And it's skills that us, as their parents, teachers, and caregivers, are benefited from greatly, because we all go through moments where our thoughts gain control. They are anxious. It pulls our emotions into it, and we find ourselves in a loop or a spiral. And so developing these heart areas that help us to transcend these experiences is so very beneficial. All right. Thanks so much for being here. Bye bye.